welcome to another episode of Rican. I'm Lou.
I'm Mo. Mi gente, what's up?
Yes, sir.
So,
We're back.
yes, we are. So, what's going on, bro?
None chilling. It's been an eventful week in terms of catching up on some episodes of X-Men. And
Oh, yes.
yes. It was
Do tell.
great so far. Not one episode has disappointed me.
No, it has been one nail biter after the next.
Yes, yeah. I thought Professor X was really dead.
That makes two of us.
Yes, no spoiler alerts. And for anybody that's watching, if you haven't watched X-Men, that's your fault because we're going to talk about it.
That's
So,
right. So, if you don't want to hear it, do this.
yes. And Mo, should we get along with the last two episodes?
Yes,
What did you
please.
like? What did you like about the previous one, not the one from this week?
From Life and Death Part 2. Oh,
Yes.
my God. Where do I begin? I think the best for me and my favorite part was seeing how Storm got her abilities back. Forge mechanism did work, but it was more of a psychological block on her part, getting
Yes.
her abilities back. And that demon pretty much put her past it. And it's like, I know it's towards the end, but I was loving all of that. I was loving all of that.
Yeah.
And the whole massacre at Genosha, I was still devastated from the first time I saw it. I think I watched it maybe like 4 times just to see that and just go, no. I was like, it made me feel the same way each and every time. And that's not, that's a testament to the artistry, the work involved in putting this story together. Because I tell you, I love story, especially when you have me like sitting there like no.
Yes.
And then that ending to cap it off with Rogue holding on to Remy and says, "I can't feel you." I'm like, oh, that's the first time besides E.T. that I ever felt like misty eyed watching that, bro. I felt that all right in my chest. Like, wow, that was like incredible.
Now, when you say the demon, I took it as not so much a demon, her psychic playing against her.
True. I thought about that for a while too, but again, I love the idea that it was a demon itself because remember, it attacked Forge and then Forge was infected. So it had to be something. It was like, is that out of her mind or it was an actual demon in the area that was looking to feed upon her? Either way, it's like that whole manifestation that comes out from it. And I'm like, ooh, I love the twist behind it.
Yeah, at the end, it gave her what she wanted.
Yes, she got her powers back.
Yes.
The mistress of the lightning, the Lord of the wind. I mean, just seeing her recite the words that she has recited so many times in other X-Men cartoon series. It's like I love how they managed to keep some of the old, but bring in a fresh new perspective on the storytelling. And it made it more like it was almost like it was live action, but it's still an anime, but it's like live action.
Yes, yeah, and I know the cartoon is good because the series, my nephew, he's into it now, and it catches him every time the theme song comes on. I seen a video of the little man going ham, like going crazy. Just he positioned himself in a way. I said, "Oh my god, he thinks he's Wolverine."
Yeah, it takes me. I hear it too. I keep thinking about my daughters back in the day when we were watching. It's like it became a family event. It's like it's not Star Trek. It's definitely X-Men '97 or X-Men at the time, and not '97. We sat there, and all of a sudden, it's like den, and they'll come running from their rooms to sit down with me to catch it. And they could be in the middle of fighting whatever territorial dispute that girls have over in that room. Drop everything as soon as they hear the theme song, and you hear the pit pat, plop right in front of me. We're all watching it.
Yeah, my father used to wake us up early to watch that on Saturdays.
See, that's not a bad reason to wake up to.
Yeah,
man. Even though some of the times I was like, I want to go to school, but it was Saturday, so okay. But that was back in my days. With the girls, all you had to do is put on the music, bang, right out, boom, sit down, and already wide-eyed, waiting to watch what the episode brings to them this week.
What I like is that I thought Sinister was is going to be behind everything. And in fact, in this week's episode, they revealed someone else that's even controlling Sinister.
Okay, everybody, this is the part where you do this because we're gonna say it. We're gonna say it. Bastion with a hint of who? Nimrod. Okay, your ears are bleeding because you're holding it in too tight. Let it go. Now we can just gonna talk about it anyway.
Yes. What did you think this week when what was his name? Gyrick? He was a machine. Was it Gyrick?
Yeah. They were. Was it a bio weapon type of Sentinels? They were more of a bio weapon. That was like the next evolution. That they were designing, and I was like, damn, he put Rogue down. I was like, damn, how do you do that? But my favorite in that was seeing Captain America.
Oh my God.
I saw the shield come down, like, what? Yo, bring them in. Bring in the Avengers. I mean, I want to see them all in this, bro, because it's exciting that you know, in the beginnings, I was more like in the original X-Men, I was more like when I was so excited when I was watching this. I was like, "Where's Colossus? Where's Colossus?" And then he had his own episode with the Juggernaut. I'm like, okay, but then he'd show up another time. But I'm like, I want to see more, and so I want to see them bring in the other, you know, crossover and bring over the Avengers, bring over Fantastic Four if necessary. I'm hoping that that's, you know, what they're going to do and open the doorway. It's not, yes, they're just the X-Men, and yes, they have their moments, but in the comic books, they've always had some crossover with another character. So I'm just me expecting to see some Avengers, Fantastic Four, Spider-Man, definitely. You know, and definitely other villains, because they did take on not just the villains that were after them for the mutation, but they've also fought many other Avengers style, level enemies as well as their own. So I'm interested.
I need them to explain one thing, and they haven't done it yet.
Which is
how can Magneto and Rogue touch? What is that chemistry? What is that? All right, he's the champion of magnetism, whatever, and she can absorb.
Why isn't she absorbing his ability? They did touch on that. What was it? Remember It? That episode, Remember It. There was when she was having that discussion about him, and she had said at her past when she was first developing her abilities, and then she, of course, the person who she called Mother was training her, and eventually she then was taken to Magneto so that she could be properly trained in her abilities. And then, you know, one thing led to another. The more they trained, the more they became close. And at one moment they touched hands, and she noted that his electromagnetic, he had electromagnetic, how can I say, shielding or some sort of, I wouldn't say skin. It's just a byproduct of him mastering magnetism, that it created kind of like an electromagnetic field around his body. So she was able to touch him without absorbing any of his abilities. That was his natural defense, and it went from touching to.
They needed to touch on that a little more. They needed to dwell on that.
Well, they were touching on it because, you know, especially like after Remember It, you know, she's not only reeling in the loss of Remy, because in Remember It there was this, how I call it, the old adage story: one woman, two men. Which way she should go, you know? And it's like that tug of war of her past, which, you know, she still has some feelings when it comes to Magneto, but her present, in which she is in love with Remy, but of course she can't touch Remy. But they have that, you know, he always says that love is beyond the physical, and, you know, but she's always been without having to touch, to embrace, to do things that most other normal people can do, but she was able to do it with Magneto. So she has that part of her heart with him, and the other half is with Remy. And now in Life and Death, or excuse me, in Bright Eyes, is when she, you know, the anger of what has happened takes over. Exactly. Right there in that scene where they're holding each other. and they're dancing. It's like you're seeing this physicality happening. It's like, what? But
that was awesome. By the way they did that whole scene.
That's what she craved as a woman, because she could never do that. So it's like to have someone be able to do that, to actually experience what other people could, that experience that she could not. That's why part of her is locked on him. The other part is that even though she was only able to do that with Magneto, she was able to have that attraction and still have that affection and love for Remy, even though they never gone past the physical. They couldn't get past that. They couldn't do it. But somehow a bond and a connection was made. So again, one woman, two men, and the loss of both got her like reeling from that. Even though at the end, Bright Eyes, we already noticed, you saw it as well as I do, that one at least of the men, again, close your ears if you don't want to hear this, but one of them survived, and it's not Remy. Well, not yet. Magneto. That's it.
Yep.
And so he's got the collar, and Bastion has got his hands on him. And what's going to happen? Who knows? Stay tuned for the next episode. But going back to what you were saying with Rogue, I did love that whole man, two women, and her just on a rampage. I mean, I love how General Ross sat there as she went to the base to get answers. So, do you understand what this thing was built to withstand the Hulk? And next thing you know it, the whole ceiling comes crashing down, and she's coming through and say, well now
I guess not. Next question, and his fans, Ricans out there, please feel free to chime in on this on our social media.
Yes, please.
My next question, can she take on the Hulk?
Well, I mean, for those who may not know, or for those, again, another spoiler, but for those of us who do know, her abilities first came about from the instant contact of one Carol Danvers, otherwise known as Captain Marvel. And she attached to her, but instead of being a temporary effect, it became more permanent. Because, mind you, not only she absorbs the powers and the abilities, but she also gets their psyche. Everything that they have in their mind, their history, their lives, boom, it becomes a part of her after that. And something went wrong when it came to Captain Marvel. It didn't become temporary; it became permanent. So, as far as she's concerned, she has enough level strength to take on the Hulk. Beat the Hulk? I don't think so. Take him on? Yes. She doesn't have any, photonic projections. She has speed, strength, durability, and to some degree, some invulnerability. But that's it. And so I would say she could last, I don't know, maybe a good half hour if she's keeping it with the flight and hit and runs. But other than that, if the Hulk does grab and smash and does what he did to Loki to her, I don't think she's gonna last long.
She got that absorption.
She does have that absorption, but again, how much could she absorb? It's like this, for every mutant, there's some sort of limitation. So the question is, when you absorb the Hulk, right? Are you absorbing the gamma radiation, the strength, but you're also absorbing the psyche? So what's not to say all of a sudden you become some sort of raging monster yourself, hulked out and raging. No, I don't think she wants that in her mind for very long. Because remember, he's multiple personality disorder, brother, here. So you don't know what you're getting once you absorb that.
He's a schizo.
Exactly.
Yeah, he's a schizo.
She's not sitting there going, my mama said, after she absorbs him, I don't know what's going to do it.
Yeah. The way I remember her getting her powers, with Carol Danvers, but she always had the power to absorb.
Oh, yes. That's been a mutant ability, yes.
Yeah. She didn't have the power to fly or anything. That came by absorbing Danvers. So that would be... And the strength she had, didn't she, before Danvers?
No, because again, her ability was temporary. She touches, she gets, information mentally of whatever it is she's trying to get, and then she has their abilities on a temporary. Then it would fade off. But with Danvers, either she held on too long, or because part of her was Kree, and that physiology, did something to her in the absorption that now made the transfer more permanent. And that's why she wound up having strength, invulnerability, speed, flight, all the things, with the exception of the photonic powers that come out of her hands, like her being able to channel energy and redirect it, like kind of like Bishop, but in a more higher level than Bishop. Being that, no, that's the one thing she did not receive. Yeah, there they go, those two.
Now, the one thing I didn't like about the Genosha episode, before it got destroyed, they showed Banshee, part of the council.
Yes.
I don't know if you saw that.
Yes, I did.
I wasn't happy with that. Banshee was an X-Men.
Yes, he was.
Yes.
He was. That's why I was like, I'm hoping that they, when they collaborated with 97, that they bring on more. Because if you notice in the opening, they introduce Nightcrawler in the opening.
But yet he hasn't made...
Exactly. So somewhere, like, even though in Bright Eyes they had the whole funeral scene and he's doing the eulogy for Gambit, but he's still not like a complete like member there. So again, like in the very beginning when we grew up with X-Men watching this, I mean, Morph was never a part of the X-Men. Morph was a character they brought on for the animation. I mean, Beast, yes. Marvel Go, definitely. Cyclops, without a doubt. Definitely the core three, but no Angel. So again, you're missing Angel, but you bring in Morph. Jubilee was a little bit after, because that's when Second Genesis is. That's when they introduced like Colossus, Wolverine,
and they showed Angel in this past episode.
They showed him, but he's not part of the team yet, and he's not part of the opening roster. That's why I'm hoping that it brings them in as, say, season 2 or maybe 3 goes on, because I think they're slated for 5. I might be mistaken, but I read somewhere like it's like either 3 or 5 season deal.
I hope they don't bring in Angel, actually, because in the episode that I saw Angel, he already has the upgrade that
Apocalypse had made him, turning him into Archangel. Yeah.
In order for them to do that, they would have to go back and do a whole season. That would take a whole season on Apocalypse.
If they're featuring Apocalypse, I mean, I would agree. They should then, show how he got Archangel, obviously, and then have a battle with, Apocalypse in order to then, again, bring him into the fold, back into the X-Men. So again, characters that they've had in the past, they're having now, and it's just a matter, to me, it's like I'm hoping in time they bring them in, because quite frankly, it's exciting what they're doing up to this point. And like you said, not a disappointment. It's been a nail biter through and through. Action is there, and and even the animation has gotten so much better from what I watched the first 97 X-Men till now. This one, they've kept the elements the same, but also improved upon it. So I'm really excited to see what the next episode. I think it's a 3-parter OTG. I can't wait. I really can't wait. Yeah, exactly. That evolution that they made right there for Archangel. I can't wait. I can't wait to see. Tolerance is existence, and they've already started with Bright Eyes, but actually the next one is 8, 9, and 10 are the last 3, and they're one story after the other towards the end. Hopefully they end it at the end, but if it's a cliffhanger, I'm going to hate it, but hopefully it's one of those cliffhangers that just make me go, okay, now I'm fiending for when it comes back for season 2.
Yeah, but now are they going to do like they do with the rest of like they do with all Disney series, 2 years for us?
I'm hoping with the popularity that it's gaining now, and that it keeps on growing. As long as they keep the story context the way they're doing, because like I said before in our other conversation, they have a wealth of story in Marvel in which to continue. No, it's necessary to make stuff up. Just just follow it. I mean, if you want to throw something here, throw something there, but if you do, make sure that it stays within the storyline,
Yeah.
so that way we, the viewers, us older viewers, and even the newer viewers can just go, be like every week, hit like family gathering, boom, everybody run, sit in front of the TV like they do on The Simpsons. They all run on the sofa collapses, but we're all watching X-Men. Yeah, as long as you're doing that, to me, it's like if it's popular and if it's getting the numbers that you want, why you want to kill it?
Yeah.
Why? I mean, unless you're gonna make it a theater release,
The reason why I say that is because, for example, the Obi-Wan Kenobi series, they're filming a second season, but look how long it's taken. The Mandalorian came out.
Remember, the writer's strike kind of killed a lot of things.
Yeah, true. But I mean, the Mandalorian, when it came out, it was 2 years. Star Trek Discovery comes out every 2 years.
Yeah,
that bothers me.
It does, because with the pandemic and then the writer's strike, it kind of made a lot of it made it difficult because with the pandemic, you had protocols you had to follow. Even the actors had to follow it. Mm-hmm. I remember one time with Tom Cruise on a movie set, he lost his stuff and was screaming at the crew because they failed to follow protocol.
Yes,
and he made it very clear. If you don't follow protocol, you're not on my set. You're fired. Done. So some people took it seriously, which then kind of delayed things in the process. And then even when things started moving again, it was still slow, but not like 2 years slow, a year slow. It went from like a year to 6 months. It started to come more and more. But I did like that a lot of shows were incorporating the pandemic into their storyline, so that way, people, when they watch, they understand it and then they follow it because of that. And I'm talking about the drama series. The sci-fi series is something different. That was protocol on set. That was the 24th or 23rd century didn't have to deal with COVID, thank God. They had doctors that already could cure that. Right. But then the writer's strike came about, and then that was another, again, you don't have writers. The writers are those very wonderful people like yourself who create the content that we enjoy to watch. So again, whatever they had, they put it out sparingly, very little. So that way you got a taste of it, you know that it's there, and it's still somewhat going. And then when the season ended, that's when they knew that we got to end this strike one way or another, because we can't use skeleton crews and guys who don't understand what take an award-winning show and then put it down the toilet because you got secondary guys who don't know what the hell they're doing and they're bringing the quality of the show down. No, we need to get with our people. We need to make a reasonable but yet effective agreement so that way they can continue doing what they love to do and we can do what we love to do, watch the content as it comes out. That much I can say was the reason why things took so damn long. I'm looking forward. Like I said, the strike is over, and we're still and content's coming in. And like I said, with the X-Men here, it's great. I love what they've done. I look forward to more. Like you, I hope it doesn't take forever to get there.
Yeah,
but it's more like what we used to get used to. It's like when May used to come around. In the normal 22 seasons in regular CBS, ABC, and NBC, you knew that you had a hiatus coming in because the season was over. But soon as September was around the corner, it's time for your shows to come back. I look forward when The Flash would come back on the CW. All the CW shows that I used to watch on the Arrowverse. Boom! I knew September's around. Here we go. Yeah. Season starting, getting ready. Boom. Let's get to it. Let's go. Now it's random because they either would shut down and he would come back in the fall again, or in this case, like Discovery would now came back in the summer, even though it's the last season. But before it was more like in between February and March, like spring going into summer, or I think one time, if I'm not mistaken, it came towards the end of the fall, and it wasn't even near March yet. So I think it was somewhere like in February. We were still cold, but 10 episodes. They split it, 5 here, and then they had a hiatus of about 3 weeks or 2 or 3 weeks, and then bang, continue the rest of the season going into the summer.
I remember that. Yeah.
So again, like agreeing with you, it did take too long. It was a little disheartening because you're so looking forward to seeing, your characters and seeing your shows that you love to watch. Hopefully now it's back on track again, and we can go back to when I go to Comic-Con and I never see any particular panel that would show us the new show or season of this, and they give you a taste of it. When you're running home, it's October, so okay, next week, the season starts. You're now excited more than ever. Trailers for shows have been a big help for that.
Yes.
Big help, they give you that taste of what's to come, and you go, yeah. I'm still waiting for the trailer that for me personally, for Superman and Lois, because that's about to come around, and they're in their last fourth and final season. So I'm hoping, I'm looking forward to it. I'm really looking forward to it. And right now, I can feel it coming. So I'm down. Can you take us to the commercial break? We'll be back with more Rican.
Audio Jungle.
Hey, welcome back, Ricans. I'm Mo.
I'm Lou.
And just to throw a little spoiler out there, a commercial regarding the Bronx anime coming up in August. Well, yours truly, me, and Lou will be there on hand as well. We're going to do a live show as it happens right there and fill you in on what's going on. So we look forward for you to be coming by, say what's up, and join us on any, discussion of nerdism, comics, whatever you want. Come by and say hi. With that said, wanted to talk about something that was kind of like near and dear to me. We had touched on this before, and growing up, animation was not as the same as it used to be back in the day. I mean, back in the day, we had what was known as the world of Hanna Barbera.
Yes.
I know.
Just the name is nostalgic.
Oh, nostalgic is an understatement. In my research and looking up the Hanna Barbera characters, I didn't realize most of them had like full names whatsoever. I mean, I just knew them as the names that I came across because we used to see them almost every week. Just to give you an example, show number 1. Oh man, look at that! All the group: Yogi, Fred. Oh my God, Barney Rubble. So, just to give you a hint on that's all a lot of the characters of Hanna Barbera. But here's one in particular that really caught my eye because I remember watching this a few times. The Amazing Chan and the Chan Clan. It was kind of like a takeoff of Scooby-Doo because they solved mysteries, but it was done in a more Asian way, but I gotta tell you, it was funny. And when I looked at the list of the names, I mean, you know what? I'll read them off to you so that you know. Okay, ready? The Amazing Chan and the Chan Clan goes like this: Charlie Chan, Henry Chan, Stanley Chan, Susie Chan, Alan Chan, Annie Chan, Tommy Chan, Flip Chan, Nancy Chan, Mimi Chan, Scooter Chan, and Choo Choo. It's like that's their whole list of characters. It's like, oh my god, and it got better over time when it came to who they were doing storylines on. I mean,
don't forget their cousin.
Cousin, one thing that was an extended family, with the exception of Choo Choo. I think Choo Choo was an animal. I think it was either a cat or something.
No, the other cousin.
No, the other cousin. That's right,
Jackie Chan.
Like the one that has like actually like standed the test of time. I mean, it started in 1960 and it landed all the way to its present time. Feature films and different variations of the cartoon, the Flintstones.
Yes.
Yeah, there you go. They were a band. That's right. And they solved mysteries. And you're just like, wow. But then there were many others like them. And they all had the same theme. But the thing is, each one of them brought something a little different along the way, which with their dialogue and the comedy concerned. So back to the Flintstones. I mean, the Flintstones have been around, a long, long time, from 1960 till now. So we're talking many, many, many years. And again, the roster of the names of the characters that were in here, it brought back memories. Like here, of course, the obvious Fred Flintstone, Wilma Flintstone, Pebbles Flintstone, right? Dino. That dog. Oh, my God. Wooly. That was a saber-toothed cat, I think, if I'm not mistaken. You had Barney Rubble, Betty Rubble, Bam Bam Rubble. Bam Bam. Okay. That's too easy. I'm just going to continue. Hoppy, their kangaroo. Snoots, George Nate Slate. Okay, I think that was the son. You got my favorite. There was like in the late 80s, they brought in this space character called the Great Gazoo. You know, it was a little Martian that was there to help them. It was kind of like a genie, but it was just a Martian, which was like, okay. You had the Gruesomes, and the Gruesomes consisted of Weirdly Gruesome, Creepella Gruesome, Goblin Gobby Gruesome, and Schneider. Joe Rockhead, and of course, the dad of them all, their boss, Mr. Slate.
Well, now here's my thing. They had Mr. Slate.
Mm-hmm.
What was the Jetsons' boss name?
The Jetsons' boss name. That's a good question.
I'm
trying to remember that now.
But
he was almost the same character too.
Yes, not to throw in a wrench. Yes,
he was the same type of character, and I'm trying to remember now. Hell, help you guys! If you're out there, you remember, please shoot it down so we can look it up. But yeah, it had the same theme, because I remember that there was an episode, and if I'm not mistaken, where the Jetsons met the Flintstones.
Yeah,
they could have had a time crossover.
Yeah, and I'm curious, was Slate? Yeah, you see, I'm trying to think what was his name.
I know. That one's a nail biter.
Yeah, we'll get back to that. But go ahead.
They had the crossover to bring in the past and the future. But again, it was timeless, because you had the take of from live shows like you had the Honeymooners, you had themes that included stuff from like Abbott and Costello, and no matter how many years till now that they're putting this up, it never got old. It never got old. You watch, you laughed, and even when it went to like live action, it was still just as funny as it was interesting to see that the characters didn't change. I mean, they always say like the more things change, the more things stay the same. It's true about these shows. Mr. Spacely,
Mr.
thank
Spade.
you out there, Mr. Spacely. He's the Mr. Slate version of the Flintstones.
Yes.
But you gotta love it, bro, because a lot of if you look at the technology, even that they created during that time, a lot of it's present now, and it's hilarious when I look at this and go, wow, it's like who would ever thought, that they would see that far, and then bam, right there on the screen, like, oh gee, hello. As matter of fact, another comparison to that. Even though it wasn't a Hanna Barbera cartoon, for instance, The Simpsons, because there was that thing. Remember that they talked about that. How did they figure out these future events happening? Because for some reason, it kind of told time.
Yeah.
It's like if you go back over the years with The Simpsons, it's like either they have some sort of Nostradamus writing the show and saying this is going to happen, and then boom, they put it into a cartoon, and then years later going, wait, that was on The Simpsons. He was like, yo, wait a second. No different here than with the Jetsons. It's like the equivalent in the Flintstones. Well, of course, it had, some sort of dinosaur or monkey. They of course, at that time, it was not technological, or at least technological in their perspective, because, they had human or monkey labor. But in the Jetsons, you had microwaves, the electric car, well, not flying yet. Wait. Let me not say not flying yet, because there have been some things that I've seen online that are with cars that are flying. So that's not too far off. Buttons to push to make things happen. I mean, you're sitting there and you're watching this. It's like, did they have a Nostradamus of their own to look into the future? Because quite frankly, I'm like, wow, a lot of the stuff that's happened is now not science fiction, but science fact.
Yeah.
We're living proof that this has happened.
It's true. My thing was the theory behind the Flintstones and the Jetsons, that they lived above the Jetsons. The Jetsons lived above ground. In other words, they were the high class people. I think we spoke about this, and the Flintstones were the lower class. That was a theory that they came up with, and it made sense. In other words, they were the same universe.
Right, same universe, except above the clouds, you had the life of the Jetsons,
exactly.
All this technology. But then, where there was no technology, you were born poor. Boom, you're living the life of the Flintstones.
Right.
I tell you the truth, I don't mind the Flintstone world, because I love me a Brontosaurus burger.
Yeah, and then they were also discussing where the Flintstones were the people who chose to stay and not go on with the technology.
That's interesting. But then every story, has its fiction behind it. In essence, again, it's like the separations of classes. You rich, poor. So, but they didn't delve on it in a more derogatory way. They just showed that life's the same on either end. They have their frustrations one way, but then so did the poor class. They were no different. And they had their same frustrations as well. As far as what couples are concerned, they were both the same. So I do understand the theory behind it, but I also understand from remembering watching both and noticing, hey, they did that on this one, they did that on that one. So they kind of kept it on an even keel. So they didn't want to show that someone was better than the other. The only difference between the two is one's in the clouds with technology, the other one's on land, and technology is not something that they're accustomed to, so they do things a little differently. But they live same exact lives when it comes to being with each other. So that, at least, I tip my hat off to them for that. Yes. They didn't make it so like they say in the book, rich man, poor man. They didn't keep it in that perspective. One of the other Huh?
I have a question for the fans and the followers that we have.
Shoot.
The Iron Man suit,
Hmm.
when it
What about it?
transforms, when he actually carried it in the suitcase. Remember when he used to transform into
Mm-hmm.
change into the suitcase?
Mm-hmm.
Was that inspired by the Jetson car? They used to turn into the suitcase and he used to travel inside with it.
There you go.
Was the
That could
inspiration?
be. Everything has its influence in one way or
Yes.
another, and it makes its way. You know, big screen, small screen. But you're right. Could have been because, mind you, this was way before. I mean, Iron Man during that time didn't even have a suitcase to put it in, or he did, but it didn't come out automatically. It was
No.
an actual suitcase, and then
The
the suit would just flop out, pop out, and then he'd have to really put it on himself. It wasn't
and
until
then
like the 90s or
well,
2000 where he did Extremis, where then he called the armor to him.
yeah, but then Iron Man was created what in the 60s as well?
Mm-hmm. It was. It
It was a
was.
big bulky suit.
Huge suit. It wasn't until like the early or late '60s that he evolved into the gold and red. But
Yeah.
that particular armor was like it was like the one standard, and maybe I'm mistaken, but for many, and I mean many years, until maybe what early for like this most of the '60s and some of the '70s before he started upgrading. You know, like the whole thought of upgrade didn't really occur during that time until we had computers. And when we had computers, they had their evolution. So did the comic book, because how do you create a technology based hero and not have upgrades? You can't be fighting in the same. Yeah, you could add something, but the armor still looked the same. You know, and then when at one point where what's his name, Stark, disappeared and became a drunkard and whiner on the street, Rhodey took over and hid in the armor. He didn't let his face be seen. But again, it was at a stage where everything you could think of was built in, but it wasn't. It wasn't until later on that he evolved the suit, and then you had the variations that follow. So yeah, it had to have its beginnings. So who's not to say that there's someone was watching a Jetson and saw the bag and say, hey, that's not a bad idea. And
Now
so many adventures where I seen where he fell and he was falling to his death, and he had the suitcase attached, and he had to somehow find a way while falling 10,000 feet to his death, unpack the suitcase. Hopefully the suit doesn't flop out, grab each piece, put them on, and then become Iron Man. So yeah,
now now the Jetsons had computers.
yes they
Didn't
did.
didn't the Flintstones have something similar to that?
Well,
A monitor with a keyboard at one time.
yeah, and 9 times out of 10, I think it was a monkey underneath with a megaphone speaking out of it. You know, they
Right,
go underneath to take a look. Is there
right.
something wrong? And there was really some sort of monkey or some sort of creature underneath who had a microphone, and it was just like I'm a little sick or something. It
Right,
was
right.
hilarious, but I love how they did the dinosaur or prehistoric version of modern technology. Love that. Yeah. That was usually what you would see on both shows. And it evolved that way. And it's like, again, one piece of science fiction becomes science fact. And then of course, anything that's good on one show cannot be impossible to put on another show. You
Yeah.
know, it's like I'm not saying
Well,
they're plagiarizing them, but I'm saying, yeah, they take an idea that, yeah, let's go with it. It will work.
I've always said it. Gene Roddenberry should always get royalty checks for cell phones and fax machines because I mean, when you really think about it, it all came from his mind.
Yeah.
The whole flip phone and yeah.
Yes, the flip phone. Somebody saw it, loved the show. Later on, became an engineer. That engineer then, boom, turned into what we have today. Yes, there they
Hanna
go.
Barbera.
The creators of all those lovely, lovely characters that we grew up with. And again, it's like the equivalent for them in Hanna Barbera is like looking at Chris Claremont when he created the second Genesis of X-Men that we know now, and all
Really?
those characters that birth from it.
I look at them like looking at the creators of Superman, Schuster and
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah, all the lovely characters that we've learned to grown and love, and all of their all their different variations from that point forward, from every actor as far as Superman's concerned that has done the role and their take on it, each and every one, all of them had a beginning, and that beginning started from there.
Yeah.
And you got to love how each iteration either how, like I said before, like that saying, no matter how much things change, certain things stay the same. It just has a different take and approach on it. That's how I look at it.
Yeah.
And I love it. I loved it. I mean, for instance, when we were talking about Chan and the Chan clan, yeah, Josie and the Pussycats.
Yes.
Same variation, different group of people, both doing the same thing, solving mysteries, playing the band and solving mysteries. I mean, even at one point, I remember Saturday mornings waking up to Josie and the Pussycats in space. I'm like, what? Again, doing the same thing, but in space, landing on some sort of weird planet, figuring out some sort of weird mystery. Once they solve it, they're back in a rocket ship and back out into space again. I mean, they had some cool music and they had a nice movie, but I'm like, okay.
Back to the Flintstones. Remember when the rock band came on?
Oh yeah.
They didn't expect that song to make it that big,
No, they
It hit
didn't.
mainstream. It hit mainstream audio play and everything, radio play.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Even what was it? Well, Mr. McGilla from when they did that song, from the McGilla Gorilla Show back in that time too. It also, but it didn't have the same longevity as the one that you mentioned before, but it was getting big as well. Again, we as kids, we for me especially, it's like it was the love of the cartoon, the characters, and then you're in that world for a moment, and you're transported away from God knows everything that you didn't want to deal with in your life, and yeah, it was very nostalgic, catchy too. You dance. I mean, even if it's alone in your room, so nobody watches, but still, you're dancing, you were loving it, and then of course, it's time to go to bed, wake up, go the next day, go to school. Unless others that you commune with feel the same, you just kept that to yourself, and McGilla Gorilla, you get that in your head. You gotta love that. You gotta love that. That's the beauty of these shows. No matter what, they brought out some sort of childlike nostalgia. And
You know what I like? I liked also the Flintstones variation when they came out with the band. They resembled the Beatles.
Yes,
That
yes,
was funny.
but they were big then, so of course, they had to take that, like you said, take that idea. Let's make a Beatles version of in the Flintstones, and then bang, there you go, and a hit song to follow.
Yep.
It's like when they did the opposite, and bands were doing TV shows like the Monkees. The Monkees were a variation of that of the Beatles.
Mm-hmm.
TV television trying to capitalize on what music has brought forward, and then try to hopefully bank on it, and hope
They say
people love it.
they say that's where Chekhov came from as well.
Yes, he did. Yes,
He
he did. When they
resembled.
were doing Star Trek, they wanted to bring a Russian on board, but the producers are like, "A Ruski? Are you mind?" I mean, let's just say they were kind of prejudiced back then. That's why Gene did certain things to kind of flip off the producers, comply and flip them off at the same time. One example, Uhura. Now, they weren't too crazy about having a black woman play an officer on the bridge, but he said it was essential. But even though she had small parts here and there, he made it a point that the camera, when it faces the captain, always has her in the background, no matter what. They could have placed the camera anywhere, dead center, away from everybody, and just focused on him. No, he wanted to focus on her and him. Even if she's in the background, she is a someone to be noticed. Goes to that story when Michelle wanted to leave the show, right? she gave her resignation letter to Roddenberry, and he said, "You sure about this?" He said, "Yeah. I mean, I'm not focused. I'm not visual enough on this, you know." And I got a better offer from, I think, a dance company that offered her more money, more exposure. And he said, "Look, I'll hold on to this for the weekend. If you're not back on Monday, then I will take it and put it through. If you're here, then I'm going to destroy it and forget any of this happened." What happens that Saturday night, she goes out to an NAACP party, and who is there? Martin Luther King, as she put it, her leader in the civil rights movement. Okay. One of his aides asked to speak with her, to see her, and he saw her, and he said, it's like, she said, "I'm glad to meet you. Wonderful to meet you." I said, "It's more wonderful on my part to meet you. Me and my family enjoy your show. We do not miss it for anything. We always sit down together to watch Star Trek, to watch you." And she's like, so she's asked, "Well, how's it going?" or whatever. She's like, "Well, sorry to say I'm leaving the show." He says, "But why?" And then he explained to her why. She explained to him why. And so she stood back. He stood back and he said, "No, you can't leave. You need to stay." And she was taken aback by that. But the reason behind it was, you see, you're an inspiration. You are a Black woman in a position of power on the ship. You're a lieutenant. You're like the third or fourth in command should anything happen. In that time period, that was unheard of.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that you're visual every week, you're seen there sitting on that chair is an inspiration. No matter whether you're sitting there or, like in one instance, she was actually sitting at the command console. And every episode, from her singing to anything that she's ever done, joining the away missions, all of that meant something. I mean, and like you said, taking an idea and putting it in. There's a show called All Rise. Now it featured, I can't remember the actress's name. She was Misty Knight on Marvel's, if I'm not mistaken, Marvel's, what's his name? Luke Cage. Her name was Misty Knight, but that actress played a judge who has a picture in her chambers of Uhura on her stand. That picture she loves beyond anything, because that was her inspiration to then become a lawyer, to then become a prosecutor, and now a judge. So taking all that and taking that and bringing it into the fold to this present show, like you said, comes full circle. Take an idea, go with it. And it's a positive idea, because it's not something that, oh, that's so funny, it's all Star Trek. No, it has some history and some influence behind it, which is good.
Yeah. It just amazes me how Roddenberry doesn't get nothing. Yeah.
Well, he gets us. I will say this much. He gets us, the fans. The fans, we all, admire and love what he has done, and the fact that it has endured. It is still present even to this day, and still tells the stories. I mean, it started telling the stories again with Discovery, and now continues with all the other shows coming up. But it's still telling the stories of hope, of a better future.
Every creator wishes that long after they are gone, their creations live on.
Yeah, that's, I think, the what they call the best part of legacy, that what they've left behind still continues and still grows.
Yeah,
and that's the best part of it.
No, go ahead.
And with Hanna Barbera, it's the same. You have so many shows that have touched, and you wanna you look back, and if you don't remember the song, you remember the character. So, and with that, we're gonna
wait. I want to relieve this thought in people's minds. Kazoo from the Flintstones.
Mm-hmm.
Little alien.
Mm-hmm.
Why didn't use him more to travel time? But we'll discuss that in the next episode. until then, I got Mo thinking.
You got me thinking. That's right.
Yeah.
Why didn't they use them more?
So,
Yeah.
yeah. They could have used them a lot more. And hopefully, you fans out there, you listeners and viewers, let me know. And I love the look Mo got right now because I know the next episode is going to be juicy with Kazoo. And with that said, I'm Lou.
I'm Mo. This is Nerdo Ricans.
Yep.
Hey, guys, have fun. Love what you do. Love your fandom. And we'll see you on the next show. Take care.